Hello, I hope you're having a great day today. Welcome back to the cafe. So today we're going to do these little beautiful little pieces of artwork, and these are watercolor and collage and acrylic paints all mixed together, and I really had a great time with these. Let me just show you real quick one by one, and then we'll get into how to make these. I love mixing different elements together and playing around and just seeing what I can come up with. Got some really neat little pieces of cheesecloth in here and some book pages and some other materials that are really fun. So let's go ahead and get into this. To start off on this project today, I've got this little Kuretake graphite color set of 6, and it's pretty nice. It's got a little swatch right here on the box, and these come out of here. They're pretty cool, and then they've got the names on the back. This is graphite brown. So nice little set here, and then I went ahead and swatched this set up, and it's still a little wet. Once it dries completely, I'll go ahead and write the names on there. So today I think I just want to make this a little bit more colorful. I really like to do 3 colors. It feels really good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and use these 3 right here, and I've got them activated right now, so as soon as I let them dry, I'll let you know what they are, but they're the first 3 on the left of this set. So I just went ahead and got them all ready. I'm also using a couple rounds today. I've got a nice big one to hold a lot of water for really to lay down color. I love to use a big one, and these are by Royal and Langnickel is the brand, and this big one is a 24, and then this smaller one is an 8. So I'm going to be using those today. And then I've got a dirty water here and a clean water. And then I like to use these canvas boards. This is a nice big 14 by 18. I get these at Hobby Lobby. You can get these all over the place, but they go on sale. They're a master's touch, so they go on sale every couple or few weeks. And then I've just cut down some Canson watercolor paper, and these little pieces here are 5 by 7 is what I'm doing today. So let's go ahead and get some color on here floating around. I've got a squirt bottle too, and I like to use a towel. It just tends to work better for me. So I like to give a few little squirts and then take my big brush and really get some saturation and spatters on these pages. This is my little process of how I like to just initially get some color on the paper. And I'm going to work one color at a time, just kind of spread it around here and there. That's quite a lot and pretty dark. These colors are very pigmented and concentrated, which is nice. That is a real beautiful color. So this is a newer set for me, and I need to acclimate. I can actually pull color off of this one and transfer it around. I want each one to look a little bit different from the others. Nice to just let it kind of bounce around, and you can add some spatters in as you go. I'm dipping into my dirty water. I really don't mind grunge. I like it, so it's okay with me to dip into the dirty. If you really want your colors clean and pure, you'll want to dip into your clean water. Now, something I do like to do is where there's really big puddles around here, I do want to come in and get rid of those a little bit, not too much, but they take a long time to dry, and sometimes that's a really nice look. So, you know, it just depends on what you're going for. I want to go ahead and get some of these off today just to move this along, because we're going to be adding some beautiful little elements and things to these little pieces. So I've got my first color laid down. I like paper towels for sopping up color. You can use this towel, but it's better to have a couple paper towels around as well. So again, I'm in my dirty water here. I am going to go ahead and dip into my clean just to keep my colors off on the palette a little bit better, more pure. And again, really dark concentrated colors in these. So I can come in here, there's so much color still on my brush. I want to come in and pull some of this around. And every set is different. Some sets, especially less expensive sets, they're you know, less pigmented than higher end paints. So it always just takes a little bit of playing around with your sets to acclimate to what kind of a look you're going to get out of them. I'm going to get my brush really cleaned out this time and dried out. Then I'm going to come in with a little bit of clean here and just kind of thin this color on this one out. I like dark concentrated color, but not always. And then I'm really going to lift some out, get some light spots. Now, when you work with more colors, this is one of the reasons why I like to work with 3 colors, is because then you run the risk, which I'm already running the risk of this, you run the risk of overworking your paper, and it's already happening to me here. And I'm only 2 colors into this. So I do want to keep working wet on wet with these. So I'm going to do the same thing, kind of clean my brush, go into the clean water here, get some of it off. And then I'm going to go a little less heavy coming into this color, because these are so concentrated and so lovely. So you want to leave enough paper, enough white paper to get that true color of each one you're using, but then pull that color over. Go ahead and load up a little bit more here. Pull it into the other colors you have going so you get that nice mix and blend, and they usually turn a bit more neutral, which is really nice. I am loving this bluish color here. It's like a grayish blue turquoise. I want to lay that down in here. I don't want to go back in and contaminate. Gets to be a bit of practice going back and forth with your colors. And of course, I'll like right now I'm going back into the color. I need a little bit more. Sometimes I get a little lazy and don't always want to take the time to clean everything up. It's a good practice, but just doesn't always happen in my world. So this is pretty juicy over here. I'm going to come in, move this around a bit. I want variation. Sometimes I have a tendency to cover up too much of the white of the paper, and that's something that's always been an issue with me. And I get better at it, and then I get worse at it, and then I get better at it. So don't worry, you're gonna run into things that you're like, oh, why did I do that? But let it happen. Just let yourself be real organic, and you know, we learn, and then I make the same mistakes again, and I spend time relearning the same lessons over and over when it comes to work like this, and that's perfectly okay. You know, it's about just the repetition of finding what you like and allowing yourself to mess up, you know, because mess ups, they offer a lot of lessons. They actually offer a lot of happy accidents. So there's a lot of hard edges in here. And for the mark making we're going to do on these later, I'm okay with that. These are also darker. They're going to dry lighter, but they are darker than I envisioned starting this. And that's okay too. This just tells me that when I'm using these pigments, Kuretake is a great brand for heavily pigmented watercolors, and a little does go a long way. On the swatch here, I made it a point to lay down the color really thick and dark, and then I came in and I lifted a lot of the color out so that I could see the difference between the really dark concentration, opaqueness of the colors, and then the beautiful little translucency you get of each color. So when you're making your swatches, it's really fun to kind of handle those like that. Now, another thing I like to do is I like to use a fan brush for spatter, and I don't have mine handy right now, so that's just a matter of remembering to have everything together at the beginning, which I don't. So I'm going to use my little 8. You know, artwork for me is not about being uptight, because there's so much in life that I'm already feeling like I need to be uptight about, and deadlines and all that kind of stuff. And the looser I can be with my artwork and the more fun I can have with it, the better off I am. And that's what this is about, and that's what this is for. It's for discovery and exploration and giving ourselves an opportunity to play with the colors we actually like and play with the elements that we actually like. You know, there's a school of thought out there, it's pretty big, about using colors you're not necessarily comfortable with, and I get that. And I see the value in that, but I also see the value in delving deep into the stuff I love. And, you know, like the green, something I'm learning about these colors right here is I really mixed a little bit more than I wanted to, but I got this beautiful neutral brown color from over mixing the green and not keeping it very true, but it's beautiful. I love this color combination. So let's let these dry, and as you saw, I went ahead and spattered them. I'm going to do a little bit more of that. And a couple things you can do is you'll get different looks with your spatter, of course, by different times of your picture being dry. Different dry times will give you different spattered looks. So these are still pretty wet. I'm going to let them dry a little more and then come in and do a bit more spatter. Here's one of my little Prima sets. This set here is Shimmering Lights by Prima, and I activated these two colors up here, Gold and Twinkle, these two right here. I want to add a little bit of shimmer to these. So this is going to be tough to see right now, but once these dry, I'm going to hold them and tilt them different angles so that you can really see. But it's beautiful, this gold. Can drop in some dots of it here and there. I like a lot of movement in my watercolors. I also like them lighter than this, but it's still fun to play around. That's the great thing about really exploring the colors that you love, is you get an opportunity to see what they're capable of, you know? You get an opportunity to see what your materials, how far you can push them, what versatility they offer or don't offer, so that you can figure out, you know, what applications you want to use them for. I'm mostly abstract. I love grungy botanical art too, and I'm planning on doing a lot more of that coming up. But this gives me an opportunity to play around with stuff and see what I'm thinking. So now I've got some pretty concentrated gold right in here that's not looking as great as I would like it to, but I don't want to, I was thinking about spattering it. I'm going to go ahead and just take my squirt bottle, kind of hit that a little bit, and I may just come in and kind of tap around, spread that color around a little. And you know what? You have to overwork your watercolors to realize when you're overworking your watercolors. It takes making mistakes like that to understand what your stuff is doing, of course. Okay, so I'm going to let these dry entirely and I'll be right back. Now I've got these pretty dry for the most part, and it's okay if they're not entirely dry. At least it's okay with me. And I've got some Liquitex matte medium here and just a flat, scratchy brush. And I went ahead and laid out some collage elements. I've got this rusty cheesecloth, blah, 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 rusty cheesecloth from my stash. I did do a video a long time ago on how to rest stuff, so I'll link that down below. It's older and it's kind of long, and I'm thinking about redoing that one. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a better one, and I will put that together for you. So what I've got here is that. Then I've got some papers. I like to use positive messages when I use book pages. This one is all about accept your weakness and you'll be strong. And it talks about learn your limitations. We all have our breaking points, physical and mental. They vary with the individual. And just little bits like this, they're probably not gonna show up entirely in the end, but I like this message for me because I know it's there. And then this one's really cool. If you make peace with your weakness, you will fortify your self-image. In ceasing to criticize yourself, you will place emphasis on the plus factors in your personality. You will look for things to like in yourself and you will find them. So that kind of stuff is fun for me. I like to use it. And then I've got these pieces of skeleton leaf here. And a lot of times I like to take off the stem just because it's really thick and doesn't always go down on the paper and stay there, and it can become a little bit of a hassle and a problem later down the road. So sometimes I just like to take it off and have rid of that. So let me go ahead and glue all these down with the matte medium, and we'll move on to the next step. right, here these are pretty much dry, and I'm really loving the color and how they're coming out. Now I've got a few brushes here. I did go get my fan brush, and I like a real stiff, scratchy fan brush. They just seem to do a better job at spatter than the softer bristled ones. So you can find these all over the place. And then I've got a couple, these are Royal and Lang nickel brushes. This is a number 10 flat, pretty small. And then this one is a number 4 round. So all I want to do here is add a little bit of black and white to this. And I'm just, for lack of having something else, I'm going to use this piece of corrugated cardboard here for my, in fact, I'm going to take a little off, and then I'll use this for my palette. And since I have this here, I've got this little piece. I always love to add these kind of lines to my work. So let's just put some paint on here. We'll throw it down here and there. Get this out of the way. I really like to add interest like this, and then I wanted to smudge this white on too, but let's get this little technique going first. Get a little more happening there and some here. And again, I'm not really thinking about placement. Go cross over a bit. This way of working is just so much better for my spirit and my well-being and happiness. I have spent, as I've said, a lot of time, probably too repetitive. Sorry about that if so, but a lot of time being a perfectionist and, you know, just doing so much of the same thing over and having to have everything just so. And it's a bummer way to work for me. I don't like it. I like this. And I don't care if it blobs. This piece is starting to flatten out a little bit, so I'm getting less definition. Let's just throw one more on there. So now I want to just take my brush and I kind of want to throw some paint on here. You can get a real lovely, you can get real sloppy, like this is so wet and sloppy here. And then we can wipe off most of this and get a really nice dried brush look. I like to have these words, fortify your self-image, kind of showing up there. And I'm just gonna go over this real lightly, this skeleton leaf, and it's making some of the veins pop. You want to be real dry with your brush to pull that off. If your brush is too wet, it just won't work. Okay, we all have breaking points. I like that too, but I want it pushed back more. So now I've lightened that up, but you can still read it, which is fun. I want to slop some pretty thick white paint on here. This becomes just, you want to do a little bit, take a look at it, take your eyes away from it, really helps too, and take a step back and then revisit it, and then you can really start honing in on how you want it to look. Sometimes I struggle a bit. I'm sure it's pretty obvious. Sometimes I struggle a bit with talking and working. I need to be better about that. It's on my mind, just so you know, it is on my mind. So I like this lightness in here. I like going over the textures with a dry brush. It adds a lot of interest in my opinion. Go ahead and really whiten out this corner over here. My whole happiness and joy with artwork comes from allowing freedom to come into play. Just allowing a real messy, I don't care if stuff gets spilled on this, if I spill my coffee on it, spill my drink, I don't care, it's just gonna add to it. Now, you know, I don't want grease. Grease is like the worst thing for art, of course, but pretty much anything else to me is good to go. And it's taken me years to get to this point, to be able to work like this. See, so I blacked in this corner, and I have such a drive for uniformity that here I am trying to do the same thing to this one. Look at how lovely that green came out when it mixed with the acrylic. I like mixing acrylics with watercolor. You get some nice variation. A lot of times your acrylics will go right over top, excuse me, and be just fine on top of the watercolors. Lots of times you'll get mixture. You can force mixture by not waiting for your watercolor to dry, of course. So there's lots of different things you can do here to add interest to your artwork. Okay, I did want to show you guys, there is a slight bit of shimmer in here, and I'm pretty far from the camera, so I'm really hoping it's picking it up. I'm seeing it, it's very subtle, which I like for these pieces. I'm about calling these done right here. I want to do one more thing to these. Let me get in frame. Okay, I try not to do that because I know it's hard to watch that kind of stuff. I'm going to take some of this black, just a tiny bit of it, and I'm just going to throw it right on top of the white. It's okay with me. You guys are probably like, oh my gosh, Kory, everything's okay with you. What's wrong with you, girl? It's fun. It's fun. It's far more gratifying for me. Now, if you're more of a perfectionist and you like a tighter, cleaner look, that's awesome. You know, it's about us each finding what works for us and not being a slave to what we think other people want. It's about doing artwork that you love, that you want to see, that you want to create. So that's pretty thick right there, and I'm not wanting it that thick, so I've got my water over here. I'm dropping this in here and tapping it because I don't want to go crazy with this, but I do want some black spats on here. I think it's gorgeous. There's some artists that think spatter is not great, and I'm not one of those people. I love it. I love it. And I really have to be careful because I will go wild with it and I can go really overboard. Okay, so less is more with the spatter. And different size spatter is really cool. Let's try to get a few more big ones on here. There, yeah. Okay, so now that I've got that, I'm liking it so much, I want to add a little tiny bit of white spatter. So I'm just going to use this little piece. And you know, when you work like this, it helps you. It helps you to be more adaptable, not only in your artwork, but in life as well, because I'll use anything for a palette. And then look, now I've got a piece of nice textured painted corrugated paper here that I can use on something else. And this style, I learned so much about myself doing artwork, and I learned so much about the world, and I learned how to apply these things that I learn here in the studio to other areas of my life. So I've got this damp, and I do want it more wet, but I'm gonna get the paint loaded on here first. I'm gonna do both sides. And now I'm gonna dip it into I've got some clean water here, and so I don't really want this all mucked up. Just dip it into the clean and do a smidge of the white spatter. And this is something that I have to really watch because I love spatter, and it can be, you can do too much. And especially if it looks uniform, then it doesn't look great when it's too uniform. So, see, it's just like I have to tell my hands, stop it, no more. Put the brush down. Okay, so brush is down. These pieces I'm very happy with how they look, and I'm gonna let them completely dry, and then we will pull them off the board.